the thing about JK Rowling is she's rich. And if she wasn't rich, no one would care at all. I mean, like, what she says isn't... She's not groundbreaking. She's not clever. She's like a C-tier gender-critical mind with more money than you can imagine. But it's not even like an Elon Musk thing where... Like, Elon Musk has more money than you can imagine, and he does all this horrible stuff, and he's a horrible person in the same way that JK Rowling is, but he changes the conversation. He does and says all this wacky, insane stuff, which is just horrible and contradictory and stupid, but, like, it's new. Like, he might repeat things that he's read on Twitter or whatever, but he does come out with some stuff that people then will have to talk about. But JK Rowling's just like an idiot. I don't know, she just... But I don't know, maybe like seeing the dunk on that. I don't want to become one of these like people who only talks about Graham Linehan and JK Rowling because I fucking hate them. Like, I would rather... The problem is I would rather talk about the gender critical people who are influencing the theory or whatever, because that's the kind of thing I like arguing about. I would genuinely rather talk about something that, like, Helen Joyce said, or someone like that. I mean, I guess she's an idiot too, but it's different. Like, she has more arguments and sway and stuff than J.K. Rowling does. But even though she's one of the most prominent people, no one really knows who she is. And if I did a video saying, Helen Joyce said this, everyone would be like, nah, I don't think I'll click on that one. Because, like, who the fuck is that? If you're British, you might know who she is. But if you're not, you might be like, okay. Whereas everyone knows who J.K. Rowling is, so... Well, she's a little bit like Trump in that she's rich and stupid, but Trump, again, like, sets the conversation. He comes out with stuff, and then everyone has to respond to it or defend it or have an opinion on it and stuff. J.K. Rowling comes out with stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I've seen that before. Like, she's not... There's nothing, like, there's no theorizing or cutting-edge things or conversation-changing stuff. Even when she wrote her original essay, when I read it, I was just like, oh yeah, I know all this. And obviously I thought, well, that's just an entry point. I don't really know how to explain it. She just doesn't seem to have any, like, initiative. Yeah, anyway, it sounds like you want to talk about JK Rowling, so let's do that one. So, JK Rowling responded to me again. How exciting. So let's see what incredibly clever and cutting thing she said this time. So I said on Blue Sky, in response to the Labour Party banning trans women from the Labour Party Women's Conference, shortly before they then cancelled the entire conference and all of the other minority rights conferences. So they banned trans women, and then, like, hours later, banned all women. But they just needed to make sure, before they just shut down women being able to discuss politics in the Labour Party, they wanted to make sure that they also fucking hate trans women even more. Pretty dumb. Anyway, I was responding to the news that trans women would be banned before I knew the whole conference would be banned. And I said, banning trans women from attending the Labour Women's Conference is a pretty clear violation of human rights. It's not even supported by the now broken Equality Act. I hope someone sues them over this. They will lose at the European Court of Human Rights. And when I'm saying human rights here, I actually meant the European Court of Human Rights. Like, the agreement that we have signed up to in the UK along with a load of European nations saying we will guarantee the following things of all of our citizens. And the European Court of Human Rights has consistently, even as recently as this year, ruled in favour of trans people's rights to privacy and rights to data protection, etc. And in order for the Labour Party to police banning trans people from the conference, they would have to violate your right to privacy. So it wouldn't be possible to do, so then they would lose in court. I didn't just mean a general, like, this is against our human rights, though that is true too, but I did specifically mean the European Court of Human Rights. Yeah, I do think this is true. I think that that's probably the reason they cancelled the women's conference. I know that they did actually say that was one of the reasons, is that they're not sure the legality of banning or including trans women, and they basically can't be asked, and they don't want a media nightmare, so they're just cancelling the whole thing, which was always going to be the case, because although it brought clarity, according to Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, it has made a huge mess, and as we all knew it would, and also as we all knew, the gender criticals doing this, claiming they're defending women, was always going to result in this. Every time they win any kind of thing against trans people, it's always going to be creating a contradiction or undermining some fundamental right, fundamental principle which underpins all of our human rights, and is always going to negatively affect women. The only possible conclusion of the Supreme Court ruling going this way was that women would lose out and that it would be a legal mess. And that is exactly what has unfolded in front of our eyes. Anyway, I said this on Blue Sky. Over on Twitter, JK Rowling has responded to her 14 million followers, to her several million human followers and several million robot followers. Denying women the right to assemble without men is a clear violation of women's human rights. Oh, she's just so dumb. So, literally, yes. If you were to ban women from assembling without men, it would be a clear violation of their human rights. Of course, that isn't what I want. That isn't what I've done. That isn't what the Labour Party have done. That isn't what anyone's done. That's not what anyone wants. She's just arguing against a really obvious straw man. I mean, that is what some people want, but the people who want it are her allies. It's people like the far right, Donald Trump types, Elon Musk types. They're the people who want to remove women's human rights, and they're the people who she's constantly boosting and supporting and allying up with. And I mean, whenever you scroll through a JK Rowling comment section, it doesn't take long to find some far right person responding that is just completely supported on her side, and they see each other as allies. But even if now we're trying to like untangle what she's trying to say. Obviously, she's trying to say that trans women are men, and if trans women attend, then that means there's men in attendance at the women's conference. But that isn't denying women the right to assemble she's trying to say denying the women the right to assemble without trans women is a violation of women's human rights, which isn't true. But even if you just accept that, the Labour Women's Conference is just an event held by a political party. It's not denying women the right to, like, she lives in a fucking castle. She could host her own. I mean, she claims to be a feminist and a billionaire. Well, she's a billionaire. And why isn't she hosting feminist conferences? Why isn't she hosting women's rights conferences? She could put on one every single month for the rest of time. And she could make it so it's just cis people or whatever, or just white people. Or she could make anything she wanted on her private property. And she wouldn't even be denied that right. Like, there's nothing saying that you can't hold a supremacist conference on your own property in the UK. She can have a cis supremacist conference, she could have a white supremacist conference, she could have a, whatever. That isn't, even if we accept, look, this is so common with gender critical arguments. Even if you accept all of their premises, the argument still doesn't make sense. Okay, let's just accept that trans women are men. Let's just accept that trans women go into the women's conference, even though that's what they've done for the last X decades that it's been in existence. let's just accept that them going there means that it's not a women's conference or whatever. It's still not denying you're right, is it? It's just, oh man, it's just so dumb. Like, make a real argument. Why can't... I could have made a better gender critical argument than this. She could have even just said, if trans women go to the women's conference, then it's not really a women's conference, is it? Like, that would have been a better argument. That would have been a better thing to say. Then I would have had to... Then the argument that I would have to make in response is, well, actually, that's rubbish because trans women are women. And then we're just down to this trans women are men, trans women are women, back and forth, blah, blah, blah. No one really learns anything about it. But now instead, we get this kind of rubbish, which doesn't really stand up. And then people are like, well, she could have her own conference. I don't know. Like, why can't we have the Labour Women's Conference with all women, like it has been for the last so many years? And why can't she just make her own one? Like, that's just embarrassing. This is what I mean by her not being like a relevant voice. Like, if she wasn't a billionaire, she would be absolutely no one. Like, in the gender critical movement, she would be one of these anonymous troll like posters. Oh no, what she would be is she'd be like this person who was like a druid who got banned from a witches circle or whatever, because the witches circle wasn't transphobic, and she'd be doing some minor little grift trying to raise £10,000 on some crowdfunding site, and then she'd make it her entire personality, and she'd be repeating these kind of dumb arguments. Sometimes you see gender critical people saying things and you're like, oh, okay, I know how to respond to this. But you have to think, oh, okay, what things are they invoking here? What are the premises underlying their argument? How have they structured their argument? How do I explain that the argument they've made is sound only if the premises are true, but of the 3 premises they require for this argument, 2 of them are false, and 1 of them is actually contradictory with the other one. So they're like mutually exclusive, but they happen to both be false. You have to start like thinking, how do I unravel this propaganda and stuff? With JK Rowling's things, you're just like, oh man, do I even bother replying to this? Like, isn't this just dumb? Isn't this just like trivially rubbish to everyone? I don't know. Anyway, let's look at some of the replies. I did reply to some of them. There's no point, like, Twitter's completely suppressed my thing now because I say the word cis and I am pro women's rights and stuff, so they, and then I'm disappeared. I don't pay for a blue tick, so there's no point using Twitter anymore. Men think that their women need to have their own sporting events and gatherings in a safe place where they're free to be themselves. There are plenty of menstrual institutions with appropriate facilities. Yeah, very, very funny. Colette Harrington. Let's see. Are you a left-wing feminist? Fox News. No conspiracy too big. Former radio host. Israel flag. Lives in Florida. Okay, cool. Good stuff. Just a normal liberal lefty feminist type. Calling for trans people to all be put into mental institutions. Just round them up. That was my response to that one. 2 likes. Good stuff. Good. Twitter's great, isn't it? Boring. Just boring response. Like, just rubbish. I can't even be bothered. Shellac here saying, this whole issue is really a clarification issue. Do we use biological sex, which exists in objective reality, or do we use people's metaphysical beliefs about the gender of their soul? Only the first one makes sense. I said, JK Rowling and the gender critical is arguing the categorization should be based on birth sex instead of biological sex. Your biological sex, typo, your biological sex is what measurable material properties you have now, not what you may have had in the past. And she responded, instant brain off. That's it. End of conversation. Thought terminating cliche time. I am not allowed to think about this anymore because I am gender critical and I do not have the answers. No mammals can change sex. I'm not wasting my time arguing the obvious. You must realise on some level that what you're saying is absurd and you are just playing nonsensical word games. Coming from a gender critical person, of course. So I said, if I knew what I was saying was something I couldn't defend, I'd say something like, I'm not going to waste my time arguing the obvious and then insult you. Anyway, this is like, just an example, they always do this. They always say some claim like, we've got to only follow material reality. And then you're like, well, the material reality is that trans people's bodies change, their sex characteristics change. Sex is just your material sex characteristics. That's all it is. And they're always like, they always do a mix of like, no, and then them just agreeing with what you're saying. I said, your biological sex is what measurable materials properties you have now, not what you had in the past. This guy's just like, nope. They don't give a fuck. They'll claim that they believe in material reality, and then you say, what, this material reality, the real one? And they're like, no. Ridiculous. We did have one more good response. Oh god, man, when was this? Is like some JPEG artifact nightmare from like 2002 or something. This guy, who is this guy? There's just so many of these blue tick wankers on Twitter. Every man a philosopher king, free market, strong borders, generic Republican. It's just so boring. American flag, no personality. Anyway, how many trans women does Katie share her own bathroom with? Because if the answer isn't above 4, then does she even really care about human rights? Ho ho ho! Good one, Anthony. Very funny. Oh, that's so witty. It's so good. Oh, hilarious. If you don't share your toilet with strangers, then you don't like human rights. He got me. I'm sick of people not willing to put their own toilet on the line of defense of so-called equality. Okay, mate. Well, I actually don't live with any trans people. However, I do have trans friends, and sometimes they use the toilet at my house. So I don't currently share my bathroom with trans people, so maybe you've got me there, but I have in the past shared my bathroom with trans people. But my bathroom isn't a public space, so it's not really a good argument, is it? They are also delusional, are we now? You are not a woman, Katie. Yes, even though that's my legal name, you put it in quotes because I'm the delusional one, because you believe that I have a biological name, that my old name is actually my current name, even though it's not in any sense. Yeah, I'm the delusional one. So no, you cannot come to the Labour Women's Conference. Well, I'm not a part of the Labour Party, so I can't go anyway, I don't think. But trans women have been able to go every other single year ever that it's been on. The Supreme Court rules that a woman is a biological female. Yeah, but they haven't said what biological female means, and if we follow the science, then I should be allowed to go. So I'm afraid you have to say, oh, a capital sir. Oh, it's like pouring water on a witch. I just disappear when you say sir. So brutal and cutting. Gonna cry myself to sleep tonight. It's start your own femboys club. We should start a femboys club. Don't think I'd be very welcome there, but anyway, it's just another JK Rowling attempt at making an argument and not really being bright enough to pull it off, and me just wishing that we had a more competent billionaire to rail against because it would make my videos more interesting. So thanks for clicking on this JK Rowling video. If you didn't like it, you're the problem because you clicked on it in the first place.